The Omaha-Council Bluffs Heart Walk is expected to raise about $660,000.
The event isn't until May 9th, and organizers are already at nearly 70% of that goal. They'd appreciate your help getting the rest of the way.
We can help them too. Heart Walk Chair Rob Reed joins us this morning. Andy Dickmeyer survived a cardiac event 3 years ago. Good morning,
nice to
gentlemen.
have both of you
Yeah,
here.
Thank you.
let's start with the walk first, but we're going to get to your story, Andy. But let's start with the walk. What's the day like?
Well, there's all sorts of things going on that day. It's not just a walk. In fact, there are two walks. There's a children's walk that begins at 8 a.m. and the adult walk, which has two versions, a 2-mile version and a 3-mile version begins at 9:30. But the gates open at 7, so come early.
And you've got other activities around the walk, right, beforehand, but a lot afterward.
We do. We have exhibitors. We really want to put the focus on living right and also celebrating survivors. So there's a lot going on.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay, Andy, let's get to your story. It was 3 years ago. What happened?
Well, I had a bacterial infection. I just had fevers, and they went on for about a month and really couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was a condition called endocarditis, which is very treatable. But when they were treating that, they determined that I was born with an abnormal or a bicuspid aortic valve. And so because of the infection, that valve was going to wear out at some point, and that just kind of sped up the process.
How are you today?
I'm great. Yeah, heart is healthy. They were able to replace the valve before there was any real damage to the heart.
Yeah.
And so feel as good as I did before.
But your initial symptoms, you had kind of a fever and you just felt sick, right?
Yeah, similar to kind of your run-of-the-mill flu. In fact, we thought it was a flu for about a couple weeks.
Wow,
Yeah.
and to trace it back to your heart, but now your uncle had an episode that makes this a little more personal for you and your family, getting you involved from the research side of things. You've seen the benefits, so would you share your story?
Sure, absolutely. My why is very personal. My Uncle Gary had an episode last May, had a heart attack while mowing his lawn. Luckily, a bystander came by that was trained in CPR. And that's the connection to the American Heart Association. The American Heart Association pioneered decades ago CPR and continues to this day to refine those techniques.
And what's amazing, I heard about your story, that woman had learned CPR like 30 years prior, but it stuck with her, and she was able to keep him alive long enough for medics to get him in the air and get him to Omaha. Is he okay today?
He's doing great, yeah.
That's great.
His guardian angel learned it in high school. That's a requirement in Iowa. It isn't in Nebraska. That's really something we need to change.
Yeah, heart health is one of the main focuses of the American Heart Association. What has the association done to help spread that message?
They do wonderful, groundbreaking research. That's what the funds help support, as well as education. And, you know, just covering all the cardiovascular diseases. And, you know, I've learned so much through my involvement about the impact of cardiovascular diseases. And it is the most prevalent killer of people here in Nebraska and the U.S. And if you combine all the deaths from various forms of cancer, it still does not reach what cardiovascular disease causes.
February is a big month, as we're taught. We go red, we wear red across the country to continue this message into other months. Why do you think that's valuable?
Well, it's all about living healthy lifestyles, and any month of the year is good for that.
And have you changed some of your habits since you had your event a few years ago?
Yeah, a bit. I walk a lot, probably 4 to 5 times a week, and just try to stay active, try not to sit too much. Again, I was fortunate that I didn't have any damage to my heart. I was completely asymptomatic. So I didn't have to change a ton, but right now it's
such a good point. We had a cardiologist on the show a few weeks ago, and he was expressing to us that walking can be just as effective. You don't have to get out there and get your heart rate so high you're falling over. Walking can really do the body good. Let's talk about getting teams signed up to get you to that goal. So what do our viewers need to do to be there?
Omaha-Heartwalk.com has all sorts of wonderful information, and we want as many people out there on May the 9th as possible walking. For a minimum $100 donation or raising $100, you get a t-shirt. So we'll have a lot of fun.
Something that affects many of us, heart disease and its different forms. But research is so important, as we've discussed today, and all the money raised from this year's Heart Walk, a good portion of that will go to research through the American Heart Association. And if you'd like to connect to the organization, we encourage you to do so. Call 810-6870.
Gentlemen, thanks a lot.
Thank
Sharing
you.
your
Thank
stories.
you
We
very
appreciate
much.
it.
Good to have you on the
meet
show.
Today on social media, a topic inspired by this next part of the show that we're going to talk to you about. In the 5 years we've been around, which musical guests have you enjoyed most? Join us on Facebook at Morning Blend Omaha. We've got our favorites, and there's such a wide variety of performers.